Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we have 20 minutes with you.
Okay.
And you have 3 minutes to open and 2 minutes to close, and you can begin when you're ready.
Well, thank you. My name is John Mannion, but since I've been a little boy, everybody's called me Jack. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, so that makes me a native Floridian. And after I graduated from the Florida State University, I got into the budget finance group at Dade County Public Schools and did budget finance support. While I was there, I earned my MBA, and that got me into the Coca-Cola company. I was a project manager, leading project groups again in budget finance, purchasing, and general ledger support for Coca-Cola. And I believe that that experience in the business world, in what we like to call the real world, makes me uniquely qualified for this position. I've heard the mantra better, faster, cheaper the entire time I was there. Pepsi-Cola was always on our heels, always wanting to take over our market share, and I learned that the profit motive forced us into a never-ending pursuit of what our customers wanted, our customers' desires. I also saw a couple times where we hit ball and used corporate policy, so it's not a strictly one-way street. But at Coca-Cola, they had a wonderful tuition reimbursement program, and Georgia State University had a nighttime law school, and that was my opportunity to get into something that I had always wanted to do, was legal profession. And I did that, and what I wanted to do was come back home to Florida, and I wanted to prosecute. That was the only job I wanted, and the only job I applied for. There is something uniquely satisfying about doing justice. Money can't buy it, and I love it. What I found out, though, interesting enough, as a prosecutor, what I do enjoy, I get excited over it, is the writing and the research. I spent some time in sex crimes and child abuse, and some time in career criminal, and when you do that, these cases never go away. These people file post-conviction relief, and I believe that post-conviction relief is substantially similar to appellate work. Rather than court erred, my attorney was ineffective, but the issues are the same, and so the same standard review, and some of the writing that I included in my application are samples of that writing. I love that, but I also wanted to serve, and I will continue to serve regardless of what this commission's decision is, because that's why I came back to Florida, and that's what I wanted to do.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Michael Martyr. I had the pleasure of vetting your application.
Okay.
And spoke to a number of people, all of which had high praise for your abilities as a prosecutor. And I sense from reviewing your application that the bulk of your experience has been in the criminal arena. And so my question is to you that while probably 70% of the cases that come to this court are criminal, the 30% that aren't take percentage-wise much more of the court's time and attention in terms of the complex civil cases that come. So my question to you is, do you feel that you have the right experience to be able to aid the court on the civil cases? And if not, what would you do to get up to speed to be able to serve as an appellate judge?
First of all, I think anybody who comes before you is going to have areas of law that are just outside their canon, and everybody's got to be prepared for that. You've got to dive in and do the heavy lifting when it's needed. If somebody's never been in the criminal side, you have somebody sitting in prison and they deserve to be released, and it's not your bailiwick, you've got to do the heavy lifting. I certainly would seek out references and things like that, Trawick's practice and procedures, and read that up and things like that. I also have been reading the cases, not just criminal cases. I enjoy reading cases. I enjoy reading Supreme Court cases. I read all the cases that come out of the 5th DCA. I have an intellectual curiosity. It's just something that has always fascinated me. And, you know, no, I've not necessarily practiced in, let's say, complex litigation, but there's, for instance, a series of reverse takings cases that have come out of the 5th DCA that I've been following for 10 years now, and just have enjoyed that and have been reading those cases and digging into them when I get the opportunity. I would also seek counsel of a mentor judge. I don't think that you can just jump in to anything without looking for somebody who's been there before you. You don't want to monopolize their time, and you don't want to not do your workload. I mean, you know, because they'll get tired of that. But those things, I think you have to do that sort of balance, and I think anybody who comes before you is going to have to do that in whatever area is not their area of expertise.
Thank you.
How would you go about, let's say you're on a 3-judge panel in this court, and you have a more senior judge that their opinion on a certain case seems to be dead set against what your opinion is, and then the one in the middle, the other judge is kind of in the middle, kind of on the fence about which way to go. How would you go about building a consensus for your side to write a majority opinion? How would you deal with the different personalities, seniority, all those things involved in that situation?
Well, I think before you go into anything, you have to do the research onto your own position. You don't want to just go in because you got a hunch that this is the way it should be. If you have the research and you're confident in that the case law backs you up, then, you know, respectfully to your colleagues, but you make your position known and explain why. And also give deference to them. They've been on the bench, and you know, when it's your turn to listen as well. I've had circumstances in my own office where I thought I've been right about something, and it turns out that when it's been explained to me that I wasn't right. So, you know, you might be the one that needs to change your opinion, and that might be, but if you haven't done the work up front, then I don't think you're going to be able to convince anybody.
Let me ask you, like, 'cause we see, I've been on this commission for quite a few years now, and we see an awful lot of trial judges apply, and a lot of them get selected, and you don't have that experience. Tell us what you think about, do you need to have that kind of experience, not have that kind of experience? How would that be helpful, not helpful, in comparison to the experience you bring?
Well, as I like to explain to people, to me, being a trial judge is like being a third base umpire. You're watching a game that you're not a part of. You know, as a prosecutor, I call the witnesses. I can drop the charge anytime I want, and the judge has no case. But all of a sudden, boom, objection, you're now making a call, and you got to make that call. Appellate judge is more like the sports writer writing about it the next day, where, okay, yeah, I'm going to analyze it. I have the time and the luxury to be able to open up the books and analyze it. And that is a different skill set. And I think that is an important distinction. I've had judges, for instance, where I've had post-conviction relief that has sat on their desk for 600 days, 695 days. You have to have, I think, a dedication to serving the people of this district and this state. There are a lot of cases that aren't going to be the glamorous ones, aren't going to be the ones that excite your fire, but you still have to do the work on those cases. And you know, you got to do it. And I think that's part of the demeanor. And like I said, there are trial judges that they do their trials, but they don't do the other work. So I think there is a difference between the two.
I see that you applied in the 18th Circuit back in 2009. Tell us about that experience and sort of why the gap and what your thoughts are at this point.
Well, I mean, part of the reason for the gap is nobody in the 18th Circuit has left in midterm since then. There hasn't been any openings. As I said in my opening, you know, I want to be in a position of service to do this type of work. And so I didn't want to leave the state attorney's office, and there just hasn't been a different judicial opening open that I would have applied for. So, I mean, that would be the gap.
Does the state attorney there require you to resign from being state attorney before you can run for judge or be appointed for judge?
I live in the in Seminole County,
Okay.
where I prosecute, so
Okay.
I would have to.
Okay.
Others don't to run against in another county,
Okay.
although I think it's more on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. I noticed that you disclosed that you had a DUI back in the early 80s. Can you tell us about that and if you've had any issues since then?
No, no, I have not had any issues since then. I learned a very valuable lesson, and not to say that everybody should go through that, but like I said, it is, you know, and I was 21 and stupid. It is, I can't say anything more than that, and I don't know if you want to know the details of it, but it was just.
21 is all the details.
Yeah.
I guess being a state attorney, I don't know if you're allowed to take pro bono cases, but I know that you do have some community involvement. Can you elaborate on that?
The problem with pro bono is in where I'm most familiar, I'd have a conflict of interest with anybody who needs my services. And to go outside of that, I would need the permission of the state attorney. So I have, you know, not dedicated myself, but in terms of where I want to serve the community is in these various other aspects through Children of the Nations, and especially through financial coaching. There's a lot of hurting people out there. My wife and I just started up about 3 weeks ago another class through our church, and you know, it's just heartbreaking stories. People going and having $100,000 in student loans and not able to get a job and not knowing even what the next step is, and you know, so that's just where I've offered up my services.
I wish we had time to hear one of your speeches. I have a dream, interpretation of the famous.
That was extremely difficult because you can't mimic Dr. King because it won't come across. So I attempted to honor him through that speech without mimicking him, but just the structure of the speech, how he begins with this sort of indictment of the United States of America, that there's a check to be cashed and it's been returned to the Negro with no non-sufficient funds. And he builds up to this crescendo. And of course, when you watch it on YouTube, you just get to the, you know, I have a dream. But if you do the whole speech and the beginnings of it and build up to that crescendo, when you get to I have a dream, you are ready to march on Washington. You know, and like I said, I did not do Dr. King justice. He's a much better speaker than I am, but he is somebody who I've admired, and I did want to do a speech. So.
All right. You can go ahead and say.
4 weeks ago, a young man was arrested in Seminole County, is charged with grand theft auto. Stopped in a car, it was a stolen car, and he was arrested. The police had probable cause. I received a phone call saying he didn't do it. Somebody else stole the car, he just borrowed the car. And I spent 3 weeks trying to get a witness to come into the state attorney's office to give me sworn testimony. Because there was somebody in my jail who didn't deserve to be there. He had some violation of probation, so he's got some other issues, but I could have just filed this, I could have just told this attorney, I could have told the public defender, look, somebody call me up, you find him. And there would have been no ethical violation or anything like that, but I couldn't do it. He was in my jail. And I got this woman to come in, and she testified in front of me, and I believed her. He borrowed the car unknowingly, and last Friday I filed no bill. Sent it to the sheriff, and as soon as he gets his violation probation cleared up, he's a free man. I have a passion for justice. I have an absolute passion for justice. That's why I'm a prosecutor. That's why I'm in front of you right now. And if y'all select me and the governor selects me, I guarantee you that every day I will bring that passion. Nobody will sit in a jail if I can help it, if they don't deserve it, and nobody will walk free if they don't deserve, if they deserve that. And every divorce case that comes before this court, that's the most important case to those people, and every complex litigation, those people in that litigation, that's the most important thing to them. And you can never forget that these are people. Every case involves people. And I can only make you that promise that I will bring that to this court every single day. And I thank you for considering me.
Thank you.
Thank you.